Hey, how's it going? My name is Serena and welcome to my studio. Are alcohol inks hazardous to your health? What precautions can be taken when working with them? We're going to answer these questions and more in today's episode of Alcohol Inks A to Z. Before we go any further, make sure to hit the subscribe button to get more alcohol ink tips, tricks, and videos. Before we proceed, this is the disclaimer. The information presented in this video is for educational purposes only. The information discussed in this video is not medical advice. You're advised to consult with a physician prior to working with alcohol ink. I assume no liability for any adverse effects, both short-term and long-term, as a result of action taken in full or in part from watching this video. You need to make an educated decision in conjunction with your physician on what protection you require. So is alcohol ink hazardous? And if so, how is it hazardous? A good starting point is the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS. So what is a safety data sheet? The SDS is a document that offers information on the potential hazards, including health and environmental, for a chemical, along with instructions on how to handle, store, and work safely with that chemical. So here's a screenshot of the safety data sheet for Copic inks. And you can see hazard identification with some symbols and a list of health effects. Now I know it appears really small on your screen, but just to name a few, it says, may cause respiratory irritation, may cause damage to organs through prolonged or repeated exposure. So I always try to find the SDS for chemicals I'm working with, including alcohol ink, to give me an idea of what the potential hazard is. That doesn't mean these things will happen because people's bodies may react differently, but at least I have a heads up about the hazards. Section 4 lists the first aid, which tells you what to do if you come in contact with the chemical. Different brands will have slightly different data sheets. As you can see here, I have a shot of one from Ranger, Spectrum, and Zig Curacolor. And don't worry, I'm going to provide links to the safety data sheets for all of these in the video description. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that all of these safety data sheets have little symbols on them. Each of these symbols serves as a warning of possible hazards. I'm going to go through the symbols I found on the safety data sheets of the different ink brands. I do want to note that not all of the symbols are on all of the brands. This symbol means flammable. It's self-heating, it self-reactivates. This symbol is the exclamation mark, which means skin and eye irritant, respiratory tract irritant. This symbol means corrosion, so contact can cause skin corrosion or burns and eye damage. This next symbol is for health hazard. It's a carcinogen, which means it's associated with causing cancer, and it can cause aspiration toxicity. And finally, we have this symbol, the skull and crossbones, which means acute toxicity, so the chemical can be fatal or toxic. So what do I use to protect myself? The first piece of protection I want to talk about is gloves. I always wear gloves when working with alcohol inks because your skin is your largest organ, and long-term exposure through my skin could cause health effects I can't foresee. I'm going to talk about 3 types of protective gloves that you may see or hear about. First, there's latex. Latex is a natural rubber. It can cause an allergic reaction as some people have latex allergies, and it doesn't offer great protection against chemicals, so I don't really use these when working with alcohol ink. Next, we've got vinyl. Vinyl gloves are made of a synthetic material. They're latex-free, so they won't trigger a latex allergy, and they also don't offer great protection against chemicals. Last, we have nitrile. Nitrile is a synthetic material. It's also latex-free, but it offers the best chemical protection of the 3, which is why that's the type I use when working with alcohol ink. Now, you may recall in the previous video that I was wearing clear gloves when applying the different mediums to UPO. Those gloves are vinyl, and I only use them for videos because nitrile gloves like these ones that I'm wearing are often bright blue. When I'm doing video, I want to wear neutral or clear gloves to not distract from the inks and what I'm working on. But when I'm creating art or experimenting with the inks, I always wear nitrile gloves. I often find that my gloves get covered in ink, and I don't want any of what's on my gloves coming in contact with my skin, so here's how I take them off. Using my dominant hand, I gently pinch the glove just at my wrist level. Then I gently shimmy the glove back and forth while tugging it downward. Be careful, you don't want to rip your gloves. Then I ball it up in the hand that's still gloved, and I take the first 2 fingers of my ungloved hand, slip them under the glove, and gently work the glove off. When I'm done, I also wash my hands for at least 20 seconds after every time, making sure to use a lot of friction and get underneath the fingernails. In addition to wearing gloves, I always wear an apron when I'm working with alcohol ink. Here's the apron I use for all of my mediums, and as you can see, it's been through a lot. I also wear clothes I'm not going to cry over if they get stained, because the inks can be messy. They drip, they splash, and sometimes an apron isn't enough. The next piece of protection I'm going to talk about is a respirator, and this is something that everyone watching this is going to have to determine if they need or not, because again, some people are very sensitive to chemicals or have compromised health. You'll sometimes hear the term respirator and mask interchangeably, and to make things even more confusing, some respirators, like this half-face one, are sometimes called half-mask respirators. You might have even heard of N95 respirator masks. For masks to offer protection against alcohol ink vapors, they also have to be respirators, which form a tight seal, offer two-way protection, and filter the air based on what the cartridges or filters say. Alcohol is an organic compound, and we're protecting ourselves against the vapors, so you need to find cartridges or filters that specifically protect against organic vapor. These respirator masks come in 2 main styles. You can get a half respirator mask like this one, or a full face mask. Fellow alcohol ink artist Kelly Chassie did a fabulous video including a demo on how to put on the full mask respirator. So if you want to see what a full mask respirator looks like and how to put it on, feel free to visit the link to Kelly's video, which I put in the video description. I also get fit tested at an accredited facility to make sure I have the right mask for protection, to ensure I'm using the correct size, and to ensure that it forms a proper seal around my face. I get this fit testing done annually because even small fluctuations in weight can change how a mask fits. Next, I want to talk about air purifiers. Some people have asked about them, and specifically air purifiers with HEPA filters. HEPA stands for High Efficiency Particulate Air. The problem with HEPA filters is that they're designed for fine particles like pollen and dander, not for fumes and vapors. After speaking with multiple air purifier manufacturers, I now look for air purifiers that specifically state they protect against VOCs, which stands for Volatile Organic Compounds, because alcohol ink is considered a volatile organic compound. I also look carefully at the specs to see if the air purifier will work for the size of the space I'm in, and I'm also mindful to replace the cartridges or filters per the manufacturer's recommendations. Another safety precaution I take is I always work in a well-ventilated area, away from any heat, sparks, or flames, because again, this stuff is flammable. I work far away from my kitchen and fireplace and always have my windows open while I work, including windows in other rooms, and I have a fire extinguisher that I know how to use nearby whenever I work in case there is a mishap or accident. In addition, I often have fans on while I work. I just make sure not to position them so that the blowing air interferes with me trying to work. Now, I do try to be mindful of others in the house because there's also my husband and 2 cats, so even if I'm wearing protection, they're not, and even if it was just me, when I work on a huge piece using lots and lots of ink, those vapors are often still present in the house after I take the respirator off, so I try not to work with alcohol inks for long periods of time. So just to recap, these are the safety precautions I take when working with alcohol ink. I read the SDS, or safety data sheet. I wear nitrile gloves. I wash my hands for a minimum of 20 seconds after working with the ink. I wear an apron as well as clothes that I'm okay with getting stained. I wear a respirator mask with organic vapor filter and get it fit tested annually to ensure correct fit. I use an air purifier that filters against VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, and is appropriate for the size of space I'm working in. I make sure to work in a well-ventilated area with fans and open windows. I work away from sources of heat, sparks, and open flames. I have a fire extinguisher handy, and I make sure to consult with my physician regularly regarding any health concerns. Please keep in mind that even following all of these steps does not guarantee freedom from adverse health effects. So how about you? What safety measures do you take when working with alcohol inks, or any medium for that matter? Let me know in the comments. And make sure to subscribe to my channel using the red subscribe button for more great alcohol ink videos, including brands of alcohol inks, surfaces for alcohol inks, blending solutions, and much, much more. See you soon. Cheers!